G'day guys, it's Wolfie here and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm just going to show you a short video on my attempt at the last round of the Manufacturers Cup. So it's my first year going into the Manufacturers Cup, and it's probably the only second attempt I've ever really had at any of these cup races. So I told myself I was going to try and apply myself a little bit this time and try and get stuck in. So I managed to do a couple of the races, and I needed a third race basically just to be able to fill in the points. So I wasn't expecting too much from this one. I just wanted to try and solidify myself a decent position, get a little bit of points, and hopefully increase my standing slightly if possible. So here's what happened. I'd managed to put it on P3 for the start, and the two guys ahead of me didn't seem too much faster than me in qualifying, so it was just pretty much going to come down to whatever their strat was. I tried a two-stop strat in practice, and it gave me about a 35-minute race, so I figured in this one I might try the one stop. I'd heard rumours that you could do a no stop, but it was my first attempt. I hadn't really practiced much, so I figured I was just going to go with what I knew was safe. Try and get myself as much time as possible on the softs to start with, since I was up the front, and then I was going to go onto the hards and just basically let the cards fall where they may. And if anyone really was behind me and on mediums or softs, I was just going to let them through and just take whatever position I got. So as you can see at the start, the two guys ahead of me weren't super quick, and this guy in front was actually, he was braking pretty early, and I thought for a second he might have actually been on the hards. So I kept pressing, but I was super cautious, especially approaching the corners, because as you'll notice in the next couple of corners, he broke really early. So I had to just be wary of that, because I really didn't want to run into him and stuff my race right from the start, which of course I've done. So yeah, it was pretty easy to keep up with him. I figured he must be on hard, so I was going to try and make a move, but I really didn't want to do it in the first lap or two. I tend to be a little bit overly cautious, so while I do want to try and push myself a bit and start going for those moves and become a better racer on this game, I didn't want to stuff up someone else's race and my own in the process. So as we finish the first lap, I'm seeing that I'm able to catch this guy, and just basically waiting for my opportunity, and I'm going to try and have a crack on one of these corners if he brakes too early or if he gives me space. And on the approaching corner, that's exactly what he does. So I managed to scoot up the inside, which was good for me just to get out ahead of him, get my pace up a little bit, and also build my confidence a little bit. You know, I'm feeling a little bit better about the race, and feeling like I'm kind of at least getting into the groove a little bit. So I'm going to just try plugging away and try and stick with this guy up in front, who seems to be at this point on the softs or perhaps the mediums. So as we scoot forward to lap 5, just trying to keep up with him and poke and prod and kind of just work out where I think he might have a chink in the armour, and where I think I might be able to get a move done on him. So I'm giving myself space to try and get a bit of a run up, and as you can see here, on the next lap I get a decent run and tuck into the slipstream and try and decide whether or not to have a go. Now he goes semi-defensive at the end, so I go for the outside move. Probably not the brightest idea, but didn't quite get far enough out, and we have a small amount of contact, but I'll have to reset and go again. So I just try and shake it off, stay loose and stay with him, you know, just trying to stay comfortable, not get too tense. But I was managing to apply a bit of pressure, and I was hoping that I was going to be able to force him into a mistake over the coming laps. So by the time we get to the end of lap 7, I'd managed to do that. He makes a bit of a mistake here, he goes a little bit wide and almost loses it, which was going to give me the run. So I tuck into the slipstream, decided I better go for the outside, which was the right choice because he went defensive right at that point. And it was basically going to be a drag race up until the first turn, but he relinquished and basically let me have it. So that was me into P1. So now it was just a matter of trying to solidify that position, and I think perhaps he might have been on the mediums. I'm not entirely sure. If he was on the softs, then his race pace just wasn't quite as good as mine at the time. So I'd managed to get myself a little bit of a lead at this stage and stretch it out a little bit, which was going to be handy because the for the majority of the race it was actually pretty quiet. And as we fast forward through the next couple of laps, I'm just trying to power away and keep those times up, and just keeping an eye on my tyre wear. And as I come to the end of lap 11, it's obvious that I'm probably going to be pretty lucky to get another lap out of these, so I'm going to head into the pits and put on the hards. So I've decided at this stage that I'm going for the one stop strat. And as I exit the pits on lap 12, I can see that I've only lost 5 positions, so thankfully I'm not doing too bad. So I'm just going to try and play the long game from here and just keep up my pace basically. And as we come into the last corner for lap 13, I can see that P1 and P2 are both coming in and are on softs. So I figure at this stage that I've got the stick on there. So skipping forward another 2 laps, end of lap 15, and I'm catching up with the guys in P4 and P3, and I feel like I might be able to get them. And as we go past the line, you can see that they're both coming in off the hards, however, so they could be going on to mediums or softs at this point. So I'm just going to try and keep as close as I can to this guy in front and see what he's yet to do. You might at this stage want to keep an eye on the guy in P2 because he's going to chime in later in the race. So by now my confidence is really building, and I figure I'm kind of in with a bit of a shot here. So I'm just trying to stick to the back of old mate here, and I see the guy in P1 is heading into the pits, and the guy in P3 also heads into the pits. So that's going to put me up into P2. So at this stage I would have been just happy to have gotten a P2 and just hold on to that position, even though I still had like 12 laps left to go, 13 laps left to go. So I was just trying to really concentrate, and then all of a sudden I noticed that the guy in P1 has come in and is on hards. So basically whatever time I can make up now is the time that I'm going to have to beat him, because I'm pretty sure he's going to be going on to the softs, right? So yeah, now I know that it's just going to be a race against the clock, and that I'm really going to have to just put my foot down and get the best I can out of these hards. And once the timing works itself all out, I've worked out that I've got basically 6.5 seconds roughly that I'm going to need to try and maintain on anyone chasing. So these guys behind, I know that at least 1 or 2 of them are likely to be on the softs. And by the end of the next lap, it looks like I've got like a 7-second lead, and I've basically now just got to do 11 laps. So I figure 7 seconds, 11 laps, these guys can't make up that much time on me surely. And end of lap 20, I can see I've got 6.5 seconds, so I'm feeling kind of confident right now. I figure this guy's not catching up quick enough for him to either be fast and on softs or be able to catch me. So I'm starting to feel a little bit better about this, and I kind of let my foot off the accelerator a little bit at that stage and just figure, alright, I'm not going to spin out, I'm not going to make any mistakes, I'm going to just try and concentrate on getting the corners right and not wearing out my tyres too much and just getting this win. And as we scoot forward to lap 28, as you can see on the leaderboard, I've still got like 6.5 seconds, so I figure at this stage I'm a good chance. However, you'll note that old mate that was in P2 has now lost his spot to the guy that I mentioned earlier, the Japanese driver who was in P5 earlier, I believe. So I figure, okay, he's got to be on better tyres. However, you know, we're looking at 2.5 laps now, and there's no way in the world he's going to get 6 seconds of odd time on me. And this is the stage where alarm bells really should have been going off, because as you can see, he's basically taken half of that time, and I haven't actually noticed the time just yet, so I didn't realise he was catching me quite so quick. I still think that I've got quite a bit up my sleeve, and that I'm going to be able to just coast around and be careful for this last lap and get the win. And it's only at about this point in lap 30, halfway through the lap, that I actually realise how quick this guy's catching me when I see him in the rear vision mirror, and realise that a second and a half only equates to not very much space on the track. So I'm really going to have to start pushing now. This is when I get nervous. And as we approach the final corner, I'm really starting to fret right now. And then I come around this corner and I just hold on the brake a little bit too long and understeer, and then have a bit of a wobble, and my foot starts to shake and I don't know what I'm doing. So I just plant my foot as hard as I can with my heel on the accelerator and just hope for God and try and just stick to the left and maintain my position. And thankfully, it was just enough. And that's the story of how I got my first ever win in the Manufacturers Cup in GT1 class. So yeah, super stoked with that, guys. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe. And hopefully I'll see you guys out there on the track soon. And yeah, until next time, guys, take care. Bye.
When you're running with the front